How's it going, everybody? Welcome once again to the second episode of Elephant in the Room. What does that mean, elephant in the room? You know, there's some issues that many people don't want to talk about. You know, we have a special guest today that we're going to introduce you a little bit later. But, you know, the conversation we had before we got into the podcast, there was a little phrase that was shared, and it talks about common sense. And the phrase was, common sense is not common sense anymore. So that's why we brought this podcast to you. We want to be able to talk to all of you viewers out there. For those of you who don't know, Benny Bernal, and this is my wife, Maryann Bernal. We're here to talk to you about the politics, the issues of the day, but we want you to understand the history of the politics in the city of Los Angeles, the San Fernando Valley, with the Chicano movement, especially with the Chicano movement, because right now we feel that is a population that is kind of being ignored. And also it's a population that is losing the dreams that they worked so hard for and fought so hard for many, many years that are now being taken away because of what's going on with our open borders. So, you know, baby, anything you want to say before we start the show here?
I think it's going to be we got a great guest, so I'm looking forward to it. There's a lot of questions I have. It's a good friend I've had for a long time, and now a good friend of yours. I think you stole my friend away.
Absolutely. Hey, we just connected. What are you going to say? You know, we have the same background.
But I love this guy, and you guys will love him too. Many of you do love him, so
yeah.
Yes.
I'm sure they do. A lot of you viewers once you get here. So anyways, before we bring him on and I introduce him and allow him to make an introduction, I want you guys to check out this video that came up on YouTube. So this is the guest that we're going to have on the show today. Many of you had heard these songs. It was one of the top songs in the charts for many, many years. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you our special guest, Jerry Salas. How you doing, Jerry?
How's it going, Benny?
Yeah, aquí andamos,
Mr.
brother.
Benny.
Aquí andamos y no nos vamos. So, Jerry, tell us a little bit about like this song right here. Alex, obviously, it's called Tell Her She's Lovely. You know, it was in the charts, the top of the charts for how many years? And what year was this written?
We recorded it in 73 and basically found that song when we were touring in Canada. I heard it on the radio done with acoustic guitar, and I thought it was a great song, but I thought I had another arrangement of the song. So I actually bought a 45 of it when there used to be 45s and brought it back to L.A. for the rehearsal. And the real funny story about it is that I played it for the band, and remember, I was the new guy in the band. I had just joined. I was the youngest and the newest guy in the band.
How old were you?
At that time, 21.
21 years old. Wow.
I was 21 right there.
Wow.
Probably, something like that, you know. So, and I played it for the guys, and they hated it.
Really?
They hated it.
I can't believe that.
Yeah, they were like, "Oh, that sucks, man. We're not going to record that."
Really?
Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, I'm the new guy. I'm not going to, we're going to, I said, okay, whatever, An hour later, our producer walks in, Johnny Musso. He was vice president of MCA Records at the time, and he was our producer. And he says, hi, blah, blah, blah. And then he goes, I got this song, man, and I think you guys got to record it. And blah. Puts it on, and it's the same song.
Oh, wow.
I swear to you, it was the same song. And the whole band looked at me like, gave me the evil eye and said, oh, are you going behind our backs now? Are you, going to the producer, get your songs on? I go, whoa, wait a minute. Johnny, have I ever spoken to you about this song? And he looked at me and he says, no, I found this song. And I think it would be a great song for you guys to record.
Oh, my goodness.
And I looked at the band and I go, You want to hear my arrangement now? So we cut it. Everybody flipped over it, you know, we cut it, and then we did a little mix, and we went into the booth, and when they played it, you got to remember, we were in the middle of the album at the time, my first album with El Chicano, and everybody heard it, everybody looked at each other, as soon as it was over, everybody just went, that's the single.
Wow, that's incredible.
That's the background of that song.
Now, we were talking earlier about, you said when the song first came out, it wasn't really hitting the charts. And then there was a disc jockey somewhere that played the song. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we released the song and it died.
Mm-hmm.
You know, stuff happens. So we went to South America. We were playing in Venezuela, Caracas, Venezuela. And we were down there for a week or two. And when we came back, our manager picked us up at the airport in these big limousines and stuff. And we're like going, hey, what's going on? You know, and we get in the car, and as soon as we get in the car, he tells the driver, turn on the radio. And the driver looks at him and he says, well, what station? And our manager goes, any station. And I'm like, what's this all about? He puts the radio on, and we're leaving LAX, and it comes on the radio, man. Tell her. And we just looked at each other and went, what happened? He said, hey, man, this guy in San Francisco, what's his name? He was Tom Donahue. He was a legendary FM. He was the father of FM radio. He had this amazing voice. He loved the song, and he started playing it, and people started calling in. Other stations picked it up, and it dripped across the United States, and came top 10, man. So
Awesome.
The Lord.
Right.
Awesome. And the rest is history, right,
I know.
baby?
It's a great song. I mean, you know, it's just the melody of it. I mean, how could you not like it? So, I mean, it is. It's a great song. So, I mean, every time you play it, it's just like it just picks you up, picks up the mood, right?
There you
know,
go.
yes.
And that's what I love about the song. It is a happy, up song, you know.
Yeah.
I love happy up song music, you know. What can I say?
It's one of those that just makes your body move, man. Like you can't. This is one of those songs you can't sit down and dance. You have to get up and dance. You gotta get up and dance in this song. You know. So the name El Chicano, how did that come about?
You know, there's an interesting story because the band was actually called the VIPs in the '60s, the late '60s, and they recorded the album. And this is really gets weird. They recorded the album with this producer, and he took that album to another guy, and I want to mention his name right now because I don't want to give him any kind of props.
That's cool.
So he takes it to MCA Records, and they love it. You know, this is Viva Tirado at the time, the first hit. And he said, I love it. What's the name of the band? And this guy, I'm not going to mention his name, he says, El Chicano.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And he goes, oh, wow, because that was what was going on at the time. You know, the Chicano movement was really big, and, you know, it was influencing everybody. And so they said, okay, here, we'll sign the band. So he goes, and he puts a bogus band together and calls them El Chicano, and they're pretending to be the ones that recorded Viva Tirado.
Wow.
And it was actually our keyboard player's brother.
Oh,
Really?
my goodness.
Who was on keys at the time.
Wow.
He was a keyboard player as well, right? And Fred, the leader of our group and manager of our band, who's still with the band right now, he started the band. Him and Mickey were driving somewhere, and they heard it on the radio. And they said, wait a minute, I think that's us. And at the end of the song, the DJ goes, that's a brand new hit record from El Chicano. And they looked and said, who the hell is El Chicano? You know?
They didn't know it was them yet.
Yeah. And so Fred's a real business guy. He's got like a, you know, doctorate, whatever in business. And he went straight to MCA, man, and just straightened it out. And he goes, we're the VIPs. And he says, no, you're not.
Not anymore.
He goes, if you want to ride this record, you know, you're El Chicano now. And
Wow.
at first he didn't believe him. And he said, I'll tell you what, you come down to, they were playing at Kabuki's in LA at the time. And he said, you come down to and hear us and you tell me that's not us. So he did. He went down to Kabuki's, watched the set. After the show, he walked up and said, yeah, you're the guys.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what we're going to do with this other guy, blah, 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 you know. And they signed right there.
Awesome, awesome. Wow, it's amazing how the things that we talk about, the history that people aren't aware of. Now, you mentioned, did you want to say something?
No, I'm just saying that's such an interesting story because I don't think anybody would have ever thought the name El Chicano came out of it that way.
Yeah.
So
Right,
it's just
right.
such a really interesting twist.
Yeah.
So, I mean, because I think people would think there was a lot of thought, like we're Mexican, we're Chicano, like, I think that's what people are thinking.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
that's not really what it was.
No,
it was
no.
just kind of like, the first
Thrust upon the band.
exactly. So, yeah.
But they embraced it because of who they were.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what was going on at
And
the
I like the
time.
name much better than the
Yeah.
VIPs myself. So
Yeah, that's a
Yes.
club band name.
Now, you mentioned what was going on, and that's leads to my next question. What was the political scene? What was going on during that time, and what year was this?
73.
Okay.
Yeah, 73. And there was a lot of tension going on at the time. There was riots, in East LA, and everybody wanted to speak for their heritage, and we were being shushed, Don't say anything, blah blah blah. Well, I don't know a Chicano that doesn't want to say something, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And they were standing up for themselves, and it was a time of Cesar Chavez and what he was doing with the farm workers. And, there was a lot of stuff going on. And some of it was very militant, at that time. And we were never pushing anything like that, though, militantly speaking, We were musicians, we were musicians. We wanted to spread the love and, of the joy of what Hispanic people can write about and sing about and be joyful,
Right.
But we were thrust upon that time, what was going on. And so we had to basically deal with that as well,
So you were trying to pretty much connect people with one another instead of trying to divide people.
Exactly.
Try to wake people up of what's really going on, but trying to come to some type of a common sense solution, right? Which don't exist anymore. So that's kind of what was going on in that time?
Oh, yeah. And what was really good about the band at that time, you're right, we were trying to bring people together, And what was really great about El Chicano at that time as well was we would tour with everybody. And so we were hitting wide audiences, doing TV show, a lot of TV shows at the time, like Midnight Special. But we were connecting with a lot of different people. We would go out with ZZ Top, and the Texas thing was with ZZ, Earth, Wind and Fire. And then we'd come back and go out with Blue Oyster Cult, and then Rod Stewart, and so we spread the love to all different types of people. We didn't just play Chicano concerts.
Yes.
Because that would be limiting.
Right.
We wanted to spread our culture through the world, to everybody. And through the touring aspect of it, we did,
How many countries did you go to? Did you tour to?
I lost count.
Wow. So you really so you spread out. You spread that message.
Oh, my gosh, yeah. Brazil, Venezuela, then we went to Japan, Bali, Jakarta.
Wow. And the list goes on.
On. The bull ring in Mexico City,
Wow. Well, Jerry, I think that's why it's important. That's why having you being part of this podcast was a smart choice. Knowing you, getting to know you over the past few years, the history that you bring, I think will help us wake up, especially this younger generation, because the issues that you were talking about, that we've talked about over several years, that we were dealing with back in them days, do you think we're still dealing with all of that stuff, like 100%? Or how much of the percentage-wise do you think we've overcome?
I'd say like 50%. I mean, there's a lot more that we can do, especially educating the La Raza of what's really going on, because a lot of them were brought up in a certain political way, as myself, and then you see things not working the right way, which is why I was a walk away, of a certain party.
Well, it's changed a lot, right?
It's
I mean, the
totally
party
changed.
has changed. It's a very almost night and day. I have to say.
Night and day.
I mean, there's some things that are obviously still the same, but there's something's very different. I mean, what do you think the differences are from back then to what you see now. I mean, you like right now you see what's going on all the college campuses. I mean, you just see that the kids are very different. I mean, what do you think?
Well, I think they've been gaslit, to be quite honest with you.
Hmm.
They're not looking into history, obviously.
Mm.
Hmm.
Because if you don't look into history, you don't know where you're going to go.
Well, on that point, they're even trying to change history, especially even the
Exactly.
history of Cesar Chavez. But continue, we'll get into that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they need to look more into the historic situations and what transpired from them, you
Yeah.
know? And
Right.
you see all these college kids now, yelling, I'm Hamas. I am Hamas. Really? Wow. And I think that all came to light when we had the lockdowns and kids had to do Zoom, and the parents actually saw what was being taught to their
Right.
kids, and they just, what is this about?
Yeah, and I think it's probably like it's not really the kids' fault. I think it's
No,
right. It's the professors and the teachers. It's
exactly.
been an indoctrination for many, many years.
Many
It's been
years.
a long plan,
Hmm.
and so I think that's what we're seeing. We're seeing that somebody's funding, putting a lot of money into destroying our country and our children, and
Yep.
that's what we see.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
That's
Yeah.
obvious.
yes,
Yeah, and that's going to lead me to my next question. But before I get there, just so our audience understands, I was born and raised in a Catholic home, very democratic, but conservative democratic. Where
Right.
we were pro-life, we were pro-traditional marriage. We loved God. We never denied it. Very faith-based. And then things started to change. I was a strategist, an organizer, a leader in the Democratic Party and the unions. But when I started seeing the changes, pretty much, turning their back on God, trying to destroy the nuclear family, coming after the hearts, minds, and souls of our children. So years back in our first podcast, I kind of explained a lot of my history on that, on how, no, I'm not a part of this. I'm not willing to do this because you're destroying everything that we've learned and lived under. We've been taught for generation after generation. And right now the schools, they're trying to change history. So you happened to mention something when we were speaking last night, and you talked about a professor at UCLA that gave you a phone call. Tell us about that.
Yeah, he was a professor of Latin studies, I believe it was. And he gave me a call and he said, hey, I'm teaching a class on Latin studies. I know your history. Would you like to come and speak at my school, for my class? And I said, yeah, sure, I would love to, So I went, and it was amazing, all the questions that they had for me about Cesar Chavez and about the history of the Hispanic movements and everything, because I felt that they were seeking some sort of truth other than what was being told to them or something.
yes,
And we really got into the conversation. In fact, I came back the second day. I was only going to do one day, but they brought me back the next day. And I was like, their questions were very deep, very, wanting to know why did this happen and why is this happening now? And so they're at least asking questions about history,
yes.
about how did we get here?
And now, when was this?
Oh my gosh, this has been a while. It's probably been 10 years now or something like that.
So they're even curious back then. And that's why I asked the question, because I wonder if you were to walk into that same room today,
Oh man,
you think it would be
I
different.
can't imagine what it would be like now. They'd probably be picketing or something, because that's what they'd love to do. It just irks me to hear them saying what they're saying in our country right
Yes.
now. As far as I'm concerned, if anybody's out there wanting to destroy a whole culture of people,
Mm-hmm.
where does that remind you of?
Yeah.
We went
Right.
through that in
Yeah.
Second World War.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, these ones that are yelling Hamas, we're this, we're that. I believe the Hamas is a designated terrorist organization.
Well, I was going to mention that.
And if you're claiming to be that, then you need to be deported at least, as far as I'm
Yes.
concerned.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's a lot of people out there feeling the same way because of what they're spewing, actually,
Right.
about Jewish people. Are
It's-
you kidding me? We
Right.
went through that already.
Yeah.
We've seen what happens with something like that.
And it's not grassroots. That's the difference. I think, we talk about a lot of the things that, the cycles you go through in life and the different generations, things change. And a lot of this is they're paid protesters.
Yeah.
Right. And
a lot
a
of
lot of the students that are there. I mean, just reading an article right before we got here. They're not even students in the college. So this is all, man-made. This is manufactured.
Oh,
this is not true. This is not coming from real people, real students. It's just like almost the LGBT with the kids. It's like these aren't kids that are saying, let me cut off my body parts.
Right.
These are the administrators, and these are the people that are being the puppets for the, global billionaire elitist.
Right.
And that's what it is. And
you hit the nail on the head when you say puppets, and it's sad because a lot of them think that they're part of this elitist group, and they're not. They're just being used. If you, it's funny when you mention Hamas, because if they were to even speak the way they're speaking here, over there, oh my goodness, they wouldn't survive a day. They wouldn't survive an hour.
That's the stupidity that's on display, as far as I'm concerned.
And that's what concerns me. And that's why I said, you know what? That's why we felt this podcast was important, Jerry. Because there's people who are multi-billionaires who control the world who don't give a crap about any one of us. Yeah. They don't care about a race or anything else. They got their own little selective group, and it's up to us. It's up to us to educate our people, our gente, wake them up, and we don't use lies. And that's what really pissed me off about the Democratic Party. When I was a strategist there, I would talk to them and train them about staying in the box, using 4 or 5 issues, repeating it over and over so it instills in people's minds. But then it got to the point where you start repeating lies. And it's like, for what?
So you're lying and you're gaslighting at the same time.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah. So, that's what really upsets me. So the interesting thing is, and the reason why I asked you about when that took place when you spoke at UCLA, it was UCLA, right?
Right.
Yeah. You recently got a call. You graduated from what high school?
John Marshall High.
John Marshall. And where is that at?
L.A., Los Angeles.
Okay.
Off Los Feliz Boulevard, above Griffith Park there. I love that school. It was great 3 years of my life.
Yeah. So you just got a call from them, didn't you?
I did.
Tell us about it.
Well, I got a call from the president of the Alumni Association, and he said, "Hey, Mr. Salas, this is so and so, and I'm calling you because every year we have a vote on a distinguished alumni from the past that will speak at the graduation this year, and they chose you." And I said, "What? Really?" And he said, "Yeah, we've studied your life, your what you've done, and they think that you'd be a great speaker for the class." And I was very shocked, to be quite honest with you, and I went, "Wow, that's awesome." I said, I'm blown away, and they were very nice about it, and they told me it's going to be June 12th at the Greek Theater, and
oh, that's so cool.
Yeah,
you're going to start playing some music out there.
You take your guitar out there, brother.
It's so ironic that it's at the Greek Theater because I've played there a lot with El Chicano, doing concerts. But even before that, when I was going to Marshall, when I was 17, I was probably in 11th grade, I think, something like that. I was an usher there, and I got to see all the shows for free because I was an usher.
Oh, wow.
And loved it. It was like one of my favorite places to go see music.
What an amazing experience.
I know. And
that's
so
awesome.
It's like a full circle
right?
of going back to Marshall.
Wow. And then you're from ushering, you're up on stage, lighting the fire in the crowd, right?
Yeah.
Making people move.
And then being asked to speak there. And I'm
what an amazing story.
Wow.
Jerry, that is so powerful. And for our audience out there, if there's anybody out there that's involved with the college universities, the community college, or whatever it may be, we'd love to come out there. We'd love to come out and speak, because I think together we all have a very powerful message, because of our past, with the Democratic Party, with the unions, with everything else. I think we bring a clear perspective, and also we're able to show people what the real plan is, you know, because you have the Democratic Party that continues to be, and that's why I think our logo is pretty key, you know, because, you know, we thought about it and we prayed about it, and this is what we came up with. And it's so much truth to it, because when we were Democrats, what did we picture a Republican was? You tell me first.
Oh, they were the rich people that did everything for the rich people only, and this and that. And
Big
the Democrat,
The blonde, blue-eyed
yeah,
guys.
you know, and the
Big
Democratic Party was the People's Party for the,
yes.
you know, that yada yada. Well, guess what? That has flipped.
Absolutely.
yes.
That has absolutely flipped, and if you don't realize it, you need to maybe look a little harder now.
Times
because
are different.
Times are totally different.
Yes.
I mean, my whole family were Democrats, you know,
Yeah.
but I saw the changes going on, and I'm a walk away.
There it is.
That's
there
it,
it is.
you know?
Well, that's kind of why you and I started the Chi Americano group way back when, right?
There you go.
You know, Chi Americano, the Chicano movement. You know, so it's Democrats, Republicans, Independents, people who pretty much we agree. We have on a lot of the common issues, you know, a lot of the big issues. And, you know, that group is veterans, it's law enforcement, it's a community leaders, it's baseball coaches. So it's you know, we haven't gone public with it, and there's reasons why we don't. We do what we need to do behind the scenes to get the message out, you know. So here with the podcast, and even when you see the logo, and that's the reality, you know.
That is reality right there.
It is a Democratic Party.
If you don't believe it,
Yeah.
believe it.
Yeah.
This is for real.
Yeah.
You know, I
I
mean,
got to say thank you to Luis Santana.
Yeah, Luis, good job, man. I
There we
just
go.
threw some things in his ear, and Luis, you know, you came out with it. So that's a guy. If you're looking for logos, whatever, hey, you want to hire this guy right here.
You know, I'm thinking back of what you were saying about the picketers, the protesters, and
Yes.
you know that a lot of them are paid and going everywhere.
Yes.
I was watching this show, and I'm not sure what channel it was, but they were talking to the protesters, and they were going just randomly through, you know. So why are you here? What are you protesting? And I couldn't believe this one girl. Why are you here? Where is the protest? And she's what? Then she looks to her girlfriend and goes, "Why are we here?
Yeah.
What are we protesting?"
Because we got a check from George Soros.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable,
funny.
man. She had not a clue why they were even protesting.
Oh, my
Well, you know,
goodness.
and that's the reality of it. You know, it's like there's a lot of people who just go with emotions and they don't. Yeah, but once you have them explain and defend their positions, the majority of the time they can't.
Because
And-
truth will win out.
Absolutely.
Truth
And
will
as
win out.
as a former union vice president, I know it happens. The unions have a lot of money. So you union members out there, you need to really look
Where
at
your money's
your
going.
financial reports, because the financial reports, by law, the unions have to disclose every year how much money is being spent. And if you're not happy with how they're spending they're pushing this political agenda, most unions, 50%, if not more, of your dues money, which is supposed to be going for you to helping you in your future, is being used in politics. So there's ways of opting out, whether it be agency fee, whether it be agency fee fair share, or will it be just completely opting out 100%?
Yeah.
Hit them in the pocket.
There you go.
Hit the unions in the
Yes.
pocket,
Right.
so they can start to change what it is that they're trying to push. Because and it's not, when we talk about unions, we all agree, we're not talking about the working class.
No,
We're
no.
talking about the union leadership,
Heads.
Yes.
the people up
The
above
heads.
that you don't see, who are making and controlling all their money, that are using our hard-earned money, our volunteer work, confusing us, giving us this lame message out there to destroy everything that we've tried to build over the years.
Right.
So this is a reality. It's really happening, and I know that you know, there's a lot of fights ahead of us. You know, who knows, God willing, don't get physical and everything else. But hey, you know, estamos listo, brother. You know,
Gotta speak the truth.
You
And
know.
and if you think the president of the teachers union is for the children,
Yeah.
you better think again.
Yeah.
You just
better
got to
think
look at
twice.
the bills. You gotta
Yeah.
look at
Look
the
at
bills.
where they're spending their money
Yes.
yes,
on the Democratic Party.
absolutely.
And you know what? And we have teachers in our family, and we know a lot of teachers, and the teachers don't want to teach this.
No,
and
there's a lot of
yeah,
them.
so
Yeah.
this is their way. Like Benny said, you don't have to pay your dues through the, what is it called again?
the union dues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a fair. What did you call
Fair
it?
share.
Yeah. So you don't. It's like, you know what? Take your money away. If you're a teacher and you don't agree,
That's what I understand. They can do
the
that,
best
right?
thing
Yes.
you could do
Yes.
is stop paying your dues. Stop the money flow. That's
So if you file agency fee fair share, then any monies that's used for politics, they can no longer take that out of your check.
Awesome.
So
So you're going to get more money in your check. So
exactly.
What's the downside?
And then
you're not
yes,
going to
and you're not supporting.
You're
yes,
getting more money back in your
exactly.
check. And I'm going to talk to teachers out there. If you do not believe in what they're saying, they're telling you, do that.
Yeah.
Opt out. Opt out. Go online.
Opt out.
Just put in Google opt out. It'll give you a form to tell you what union you're a part of. You send them a letter. Next day, that's it. And by law, because California is a closed shop, they still have the legal obligation to represent you.
Oh,
so
there you go.
And
it's a win-win.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
a lot of members will tell me, Benny, but if I do this and they're not going to represent me, I said, have you ever needed the union leadership to represent you?
Right.
And they said, well, yeah. And what did they do for you?
Right.
Exactly.
Nothing.
So why give them money to do it if they're not going to do it? You have all these laws. Plus, right now with the internet, I mean, you just got to talk your situation in there. It pops up, gives you all the laws. It gives you cases. It gives you everything you need to defend yourself. But if you're a person of faith, when you walk in that room, you're not walking in alone. Man, when I was challenging the union leadership, the Democratic Party, man, I was being written up once a week. Literally. Most people have a folder as a personnel file. Mine was a box. That's how many write-ups I had. Literally. Frivolous accusations, But when I would walk in there, the management would say, these are serious allegations. You don't think you need representation? I said, well, I have representation. He's sitting right here with me. And they look around the room like, what is he talking about? I said, Jesus is here. He is my attorney.
There you go.
So let's just move forward. They never got me once. The one man who wanted me bad, he was out to destroy me. I was a bus driver with LA Unified School District at the time, right? And he literally lived 5 minutes away from the yard. But this guy hated me. So he would finally one day he says, Benny, why do you keep bidding in my area? Because we had different regions that you can bid in. And I said, and he goes, why don't you just bid out of my area? I said, I bid where I am, where I can be closer to my community, closer to my family, keeps me connected with what's going on in my community. It allows me to get informed, get involved, so on and so forth. I go, I'll tell you what, I guarantee you this day, God is going to remove the person that is wrong and needs to be moved. Man, a week and a half, almost 2 weeks later, he got transferred to Gardena. From Sun Valley to Gardena, So now his trip was from 5 minutes to, an hour and a half or whatever it may be. So he ended up having, he retired. But I wanted to touch something because we talked about the school district and COVID.
But like you said,
Yeah.
if Jesus is with me, who could come against
Exactly.
That's right.
And that's why I tell people, walk by faith.
me? Walk by faith.
Do
man.
not walk
You're
in
never
fear.
Alone. Yeah,
Never.
Never alone.
Yeah.
As long as you know what you're doing is for the glory of God. If you're within the will of God, you know you're going to be all right no matter what the cost may be. I was forced to retire. I'm taking care of my dying mother. I'm a former union vice president, and I'm receiving emails, threatening emails that I got to go back to work, be vaccinated. Man, I made decisions for my mom that even to this day, Jerry, I think I deal with the PTSD. It's like, did I make the right decision? Because I was so stressed out.
Tell them about what happened to your mom after she did.
Well, with my mom, what happened was, it's a powerful story that they wouldn't let me share. I wouldn't let her get the COVID shot because I was taking care of her. My wife and I went on a vacation, and during that week when I went on vacation, they came back, and sure enough, this is what happened. I come back a week after. I see a week and a half goes by, 2 weeks, and I notice my mom's pupils are starting to turn black, and I'm like, okay, wait a minute, what's up? I asked her, hey, mama, ¿qué pasó? What's wrong? Nada, mijo, nada. She didn't want to say anything. Mm-hmm. So then she would go to the gym with me 4 or 5 days out of the week. We would spend 3 or 4 hours every day that we were at the gym. She was 92 years old, physically fit, still able to do yard work with me, carry buckets that we worked for the Pepinos, dancing, no pain. So then a month goes by, and I notice her skin starts to get dry, and then she's got a little limp. So we had a jacuzzi in the backyard where I would take her after and massage her. So then we took her to the doctor. They ran a bunch of tests. They couldn't find anything. Then all of a sudden, 2.5 months go by, and we're sitting there, and I'm trying to get her in the jacuzzi to kind of rub her back, and I couldn't even touch her. Ow, mijo, ow. And I'm like, okay, what is this? This is 3 months after being vaccinated, right?
Did they vaccinate her when you were gone?
Yes.
So
yes.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to make sure.
Yeah,
they did that when you were gone.
Yeah. So when I was gone is when it
look
happened.
At what's going on?
Yeah. So then I finally take her back to the hospital because she was in so much pain. They do all these tests. Come to find out, now they come back and tell us she's got stage 4 spinal cancer.
Wow.
And I'm like,
and they didn't tell you, huh? They didn't. I mean, did they tell you that they gave her the jab?
No.
They didn't
no.
tell you, huh?
After everything was coming. Yeah,
everything was out,
after,
and she was getting sick.
Yeah.
and-
So I wanted to connect this because when we talk about COVID within the school districts, within the public sector, this is how the unions were involved. They've been wanting to push this agenda, the LGBTQ, all this agenda for many years. But there were a lot of us that were conservatives that were part of the leadership. We were the union vice presidents, union presidents. We were the stewards. We were the voices out there fighting for the working class. But we would never allow the school districts or the public sector that we worked for to push this agenda because we're willing to stand.
Right.
So then now you got mandatory vaccines or be terminated or retire, which is what I was forced to do.
Wrong.
So here was part of the strategy on their behalf. This is how the devil worked because he knew that many of us were going to stand on our beliefs. I'm not going to get jabbed because I know what's in there. Plus, we don't know what the long-term effects of it. So, no, biblically speaking, this was against my religious freedoms. So I put in for religious exemption. I did it all. None of that was honored,
Wow.
But their goal, their strategy was to get those people out of the system.
Right.
So all those thousands of people that were forced out of the public sector, forced out of the government jobs, forced out of the school district, now they can hire all these young men and women who are just graduating from where? From the
Freshly
colleges.
indoctrinated.
Right?
Freshly
Right?
indoctrinated.
And I'm not saying all of them because there's a lot of great ones that I know that, I even have relatives that went through the college universities and didn't fall for that, but the majority did. So now they're the ones that are in our classrooms in the public sector and they continue to push it. And one thing that the unions aren't talking about is the pensions. There's coming a time right now with the spending that's going on, especially with these open borders, with all the money that's being taken away from our checkbooks, the state is using. Those of you with pensions, you need to be prepared. You need to be ready because those of us that have the pensions now, we believe that we're going to be protected even if the state of California falls to its lowest point, which it's almost there.
Almost there.
But those of you that are working right now, have 15, 18, 20 years in the system, almost ready to retire, guess what? That may not be there for you. And the new ones coming in, forget it. Right. If we don't do something to reform the benefit packages, everything that's going on within the public sectors, it's not going to be there for us. But all this going on with these illegal immigrants, the hundreds of thousands of dollars are being taken from us.
Right.
Being taken from our veterans, being taken from our seniors. So leading into that, it's my understanding after many conversations that we have, you're a Vietnam veteran, right?
Oh, yeah.
You want to talk about that?
Yeah. I got drafted during the Vietnam War, went to Vietnam, drove APCs and tanks, and was thrust into a situation that wasn't quite expected.
How old were you?
Yeah, I was 19 years old, driving a tank and 26-ton tank, and it was the time that I think about now, and I look at 19-year-olds today.
Oh yes, they're so different.
And it's just a whole new world.
The
They wouldn't survive.
maturity
survive.
level is just so off the chart. I have to say.
Just no backbone, man. No, for your country, and I get that. There's times where we need to take care of our country and not get into other countries' business.
Yes.
Because we do that a lot
Yes.
under the auspices of a democracy and blah, 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 Well, it's not so good working here now, is it?
Oh,
even in our own country now, when you have college students yelling, "I am Hamas," they want to, distinguish a whole culture of people.
Right.
What the hell are you talking about?
So-
Well, let's tie that into because I want to continue on your story because I want to get into Chavez and how you got connected with Chavez during the war. But you look at even LAPD. You look at the military. There's a sense of urgency because we're not able to recruit.
Right.
So what they did was they lowered the standards, whether it be LAPD, fire department, you name it all. So here's what's happening.
Wow.
We were doing some research because we were getting some words in the wind that there's so much money that has to be spent on training these cadets before they can go into the field, right?
Right.
And big money.
Oh,
But
yeah.
because the standards were lowered so low that once they get into the real field, they're not lasting 2 weeks. they're realizing, I'm not prepared for this. Like, this is not the job for me. So they're turning around and they're leaving the department. So it's like, here we are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to train these people, but because the mayor and others choose to lower the standards, now who's going to be impacted?
Right.
All of us, the public.
That's right.
Right? So this, and even in the Air Force right now, they're having trouble bringing pilots on, because a lot of them were vaccinated. A lot of the pilots, and this is not being talked about, they're having heart attacks.
Oh, yeah.
They're literally dying, at such a young, healthy age. What is going on?
Athletes and soccer players that are dying on the field, and they're in their best condition, supposed to be, of their lives, and they get the jab, and all of a sudden they have a heart attack. Let's face it. When the World Economic Forum meets in Davos to discuss what they're going to do with us, literally.
Yes.
And talking about we need depopulation, they're telling you what they want to do. That's the thing with the devil. He'll tell you when they're in it to win it. And they're going to tell you what they're going to do, and they're telling you now. And don't believe me.
Yeah.
Believe their words.
The problem with everything is that they also control the media. So this information does not get out to the people, the everyday person.
That's why these shows are so important.
The majority of people are not following the news. The regular everyday news that you watch doesn't cover this information. You have to watch world news, and they may cover some of it. But a lot of the news is not covering this type of stuff. That's why it's important for us to get the information out. But it's just really
because common sense is not so common anymore.
Absolutely. Talk to us a little bit about Cesar Chavez and what you guys did together during the war.
Yeah, after I got out of Vietnam, I did nightclubs for almost a year, and I got asked to join El Chicano. And that was the time of the Cesar Chavez and the farm workers, and all that was going on in big time at that point. And we were asked to do some benefits for Cesar, and we did. And we did some very big concerts up in Concord and Oakland, and we donated our time, and trying to help out the gente, man,
Yeah.
And I was telling you the story of the first time I met him. I was in the dressing room just getting ready with my guitar. And, dressing rooms are very lively sometimes, with friends and family and whatever, it's loud in there sometimes, and getting ready to get out on stage. And so all of a sudden it just got quiet. And I went, ooh, that felt weird. What is going on? And I looked up, and Cesar Chavez walked in with his bodyguards. And those bodyguards were very intimidating, man, and then I realized at that moment just how much power was in the room, and people can change a room with their presence.
Yes.
And I've experienced it in many ways.
And that was Chavez.
And that one was Chavez.
Yeah.
And it got so quiet, it was weird, and I looked over, and he looked at me, and he walks right over to the band, and he leans over, and he shakes my hand, and he smiled, and he thanked us for participating and helping out with the movement. And from then on, it was all right. It started getting a little louder and stuff like that. But he was very kind, very nice, very, he's sincere in what he was wanting to do for the people, and he was very thankful, I guess is the best way I could say it. Yeah. And I said, of course, we're proud to be a part of this, and we'll help you.
Amazing.
We'll help you with whatever we can, and he kept thanking us over and over again, and I just was very.
It's his character.
It was his character. He wasn't a big man. He wasn't a big man. He was probably my size,
but he had one heck of a heart.
But man, his presence was palatable, in the room, and so I was just like, wow, this guy, he carries. I can imagine when he goes to meetings. With people that need to make a decision.
And what's so sad about that is that here today the universities are trying to change his history. People are trying to taint him as he was a communist and he was pro illegal migration. You want to talk about some of that?
Oh man, it's lies. It's out and out lies. And really? That's what you're teaching
Yeah.
today?
Yeah.
I mean, anybody with a half a brain can really do some research
Right.
and realize that.
Oh, yeah.
You
And-
know, but a lot of them won't. They're just going to take it for gospel. You know?
Exactly.
And you cannot do that these days. There's too many agendas going around right now that people are throwing out there.
Wake up, gente.
Wake up,
And
man.
not to mention, really like what's going on with the border now, right now, what's
Ridiculous.
happening. If Cesar Chavez was alive right now, he would be
picketing the border, trying to
would
get it
be,
closed. You know?
He would be out of his skin right now with what's happening. He would not at all like what's happening with the border. And for some reason, I don't know, why these Democrat politicians are agreeing to be puppets for the puppet master.
It's the money.
And
Follow the money.
it is like, you think Cesar Chavez would like what's going on? Not at all.
No.
He did not like it before because it undermines our own people here, the Americans,
here
and that's what
legally
people don't.
working.
Yeah, it undermines what we have going on. You got a construction worker, you got a field worker picking fruit that are here legally. Well, these people that come over here are going to be doing the job for way less, undermining our own people. And with the cost of everything going up, and it's so hard to survive, how are we going to be able to even take care of our own people when we are just letting any and everybody through?
Exactly.
Cesar Chavez, like I said, would be out of his skin.
Oh, yeah. He would be so upset.
Yes.
I'm upset because my mom came from Mexico City, and she came legally. And the way I look at it now, it's like they're stepping on her grave, man.
Oh, yes.
And
Thank you.
And the people that are doing it legal, coming in legally, and we're all, at one point in time, we're immigrants,
Yes.
But I tell you what, if you're coming in legally, the immigrants made this country. I get that. And we need our legals to come in
Yes.
and be a part of us, be a part of the culture,
Yes.
and because when you go to another country, you're expected the same thing.
Yes.
Learn their language, whatever it is,
Yes.
If I'm going to go to wherever, to France, Germany, whatever.
Wherever you
if
go.
I'm going to live there, I'm going to learn their language.
Yeah.
I want to be a part of the whatever it is if I'm wanting to be there.
Exactly.
I expect the same thing for our country.
I say this: go to Mexico, try burning a Mexican flag on the other side of the border.
Bingo.
See what happens to you.
Yeah.
But yet here in America, we've got these people who are in the land of freedom, but yet think they have the right, and they do, because of
Who we are.
all you fought for. Yeah, but really, when I see that, I don't care what the situation is.
No.
I'm grabbing that flag, man. We have to
No.
throw hands, and we got to throw hands. Whatever it is, but don't
it.
disrespect
That's
my
it.
flag in front of me.
No. And if you're being a vet, it pisses me off, man.
I'll tell you, brother.
I've seen people die.
Tell you, brother.
And let me tell you, I don't wish that on anybody, but I was in a situation, I was in a war. And I saw people dying to keep communism out of our country.
Yes.
Because that's what we were doing, really.
Yes.
Yes.
We were keeping it away, that we can. But guess what? This current president has let in how many million people?
Spitting on the graves of all
Spitting
those
on the
that fought and
graves
died.
Of all those has died.
That's right.
And he could stop it today.
Oh,
And I
yes.
don't care if it's Democrat,
By
Republican.
himself. By himself.
You know?
He does not
Yeah.
need anybody.
Yes.
He could stop it right now. But guess what? He's not going to do that. He wants to turn them into voters as well.
And we agree this has nothing to do with party. This has nothing to do with Democrat, Republican. But when you are the
what's right.
commander in chief and you have the power to change things for the right of Americans
Of
first,
America.
then you should be doing that.
Exactly.
You're a Republican, we'd be calling you out just the same.
Oh, I definitely would.
Yes.
So let me ask you a question. Being that you went through Vietnam and all of that, who were the most decorated soldiers during that time?
Chicanos.
Órale. And why is that?
Chicanos, because we don't like getting shot. We tend to shoot back.
Yeah.
And I visually saw it, during firefights. Mm-hmm. Visually saw it, man. You don't mess. And let me give you an example. Even when we were in the rear, which when we're back at our billets, not out in the jungle, not driving, doing stuff, just hanging around. If there were more than 4 Chicanos hanging out, the MPs would walk the area,
Mm-hmm.
and they'd walk over and go, hey, what's going on here?
What you up to?
What are you guys up to? They wouldn't do it for white guys. They wouldn't do it for the black guys. They could be 30 of them hanging out and whatever. They never would do anything. But more than 4 Chicanos, man, is like, and then this is another thing. When we were in the rear, you always put your weapons, you lock them up. They take your weapons and, they don't want, you get your weapons when you go out and do into the field. But they would never take our knives, and so we were bored. We were, so we used to throw knives in, against targets or whatever, and everything, just to pass the time type of thing, And the Chicanos are really good with those knives, man.
I wonder why.
And guess what? Took them away too.
Oh wow!
Took our knives away too. Because they figured we don't want to let them, have anything that might. So that's a heavy thing, man. And I'm going to tell you a story. This is a true story. I was on I was guarding an ammo dump one night, and there was a lot of racism at that time in the Army. I was on a tank with white guys, Chicanos, blacks, whatever. It didn't matter. We were all together, right?
We were brothers.
We were brothers, man. But I'll tell you what, man. All of a sudden, they started shipping everybody else out, and I was on a tank with nothing but black guys. And when you get a whole lot of them together, they want to take over, man. And they started woofing on me big time. I was there, So I got into a big fight with one guy, man, and I knocked him out, man. We were on the. I did a number on him, and when we went back that night, there was a hurricane that hit. I was in Chula at the time, and the roof literally ripped off of my hooch.
Wow!
And I saw it flying through the air, and I was so tired because I'd been up all night guarding this ammo dump, and I just fought this guy, and I'm like, oh man! So what happens? When it was all over, I got called into the office, and it was our captain. And he looked at me, and he goes, I hear you had a little problem last night, on your tank. And I go, yeah, but I took care of it,
Yeah.
Well, he goes, well, remember, they always put our guns away when we came back, right? And he says, well, the word is they're looking for you, man. And he goes... And he opens his drawer and he pulls out a 45, puts it on the thing. He says, "You better carry that with you."
There it is. There it is.
And there it was, man.
Yeah.
That was sad.
It is. We want to thank all the veterans. Every one of you, those that made it through, and those that did not. Jerry, thank you for your service. My brother Rogelio Bernal, also, Marine, veteran, Vietnam veteran, and love my brother.
I got to say something real quick about that situation, because they used to call me the jukebox because I'd carry my guitar with me and I'd play at all the hooch parties, right? Yeah. And I didn't care who's in the hooch. I played James Brown and I played, Burl Haggard, whatever, And the brothers they were great, man. They loved my playing. I'd go and jam with them and everything. But after that night, they all kind of got together and decided I was marked guy, right? But privately, they would come to me and go, hey, man, I know the situation, man, but I got to stick with the bros, man. I love you, Jerry, man, and blah, 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 but, and it hurt me, to think that,
right.
Because these guys, I got along with all of them, man. I would jam with them, play, when you want Temptations, okay, and.
But we know who had your back.
That's right, baby.
When the Lord has your back, boom, there it is.
It's all good.
And that's why, the conversations that we're having here, so for the audience, so all of this is why the show is called Elephant in the Room, because these are conversations that you're not going to hear anywhere else. There's people that, for whatever the reason may be, don't want to talk about these things, or afraid of it, or they're afraid they may lose some funding, some money whatsoever. But we got 3 minutes to end the show. So for the audience out there, I want you guys to hear this. Feel free to comment, because at the end of the show, we want to ask you, what was the elephant in the room for you? Comment in our postings. Let us know. Hopefully, we can welcome some of you to be on our show. You can come out here. You can talk with us, be a part of it, maybe on Zoom. But any last closing words?
Vote for Benny Bernal for Congress.
There it is.
There you go.
There it
Vote
is.
for Benny Bernal for Congress.
Yeah.
And go to his website and do yourself a favor and donate.
There it is.
Donate to this man. He has your back.
Bernal for Congress.
Bernal for Congress. believe me, you need to do this. Don't say I'll think about it or this and that. You better look at what's going on in this country right now.
Yes.
And you better realize that he has common sense.
There it is.
And that is what we need right now in today's society. And I dare you to say otherwise.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you both. Well, thank you both very much for being on the show,
wait
Jerry. Thank you so much. Yeah.
He's got to talk about his Rock for Vet. He's got
the Rock for Vets.
Yes, yes.
Mention the Rock for Vets. Yeah.
I started a program with my friend Frank Michaelham probably 14 years ago, and it's called Rock for Vets. You can go to musicistheremedy.org and learn about my program with Frank. And we've probably had over 300 vets come through the program. It's a musical program to give people who have maybe had some PTSD issues or some physicality issues. And, you know, maybe you want to learn to sing, play guitar, bass, drums, whatever. We started out as a choir, and then people heard about us, and they started donating instruments. So we started teaching different instruments and showing them how to rehearse a band.
Yeah.
And then we go out into the community and play for the community, you know, and they love it, you know. The people love it. The vets are loving it, you know.
Amazing.
Give the website one more time.
Musicistheremedy.org.
Awesome.
And it's Rock for Vets, but that is the website, and you can donate there if it's something that you think is for your heart. Maybe you know a vet too, you know, or have a vet in your family. You know what I'm talking about.
It's a great organization. I've seen the bands that he's put together, and it's just so much fun just to go out to the events that they have and just watch them and just kind of see the vets be excited and see happiness in their face.
The joy.
Yes.
Well, thank you guys for being on the show. Once again, Elephant in the Room. We hope to see you again at the next show. God bless you and have a great day.
Goodbye.
Love.
Bye.
Love and peace.